Hi there, everyone. As promised to you, we are doing our live session for role of physiotherapy, how it can help in breathing issues. So, let me just start with a broad perspective about breathing issues. So, if we talk about breathing issues, basically the one term which comes is the breathing difficulty or the shortness of breath. So, medical terminology for that is dyspnea or shortness of breath. So, what happens in that? A patient or a person doesn't breathe normally. So, breathing is a process where we inhale the air and exhale the air. So, what happens if it is getting too fast, or the rate of breathing or the breath per minute increases? That is basically a shortness of breath. So what exactly is going on? As our lungs are basically doing two processes. One is inflation, that means inspiration, when the air goes inside to the lung, and then the second process happens, which is the expiration. That means the air is coming out of the lung. So as the balloon inflates and deflates, just like that our lungs are working. And what happens in the lung? Basically the oxygen is being carried from the lungs to the bloodstream, and then it is supplied to different parts of the body. So what happens when there is any obstruction at the place where there is an exchange of gases which are happening, or if the demand is high as compared to the supply, then there is a mismatch. And then in order to compensate that, the body increases the rate of respiration or the inspiration and expiration. So it can happen in many conditions. It happens normally also. Suppose if you're working out, if your output means the kind of oxygen which you need is more as compared to what you are doing normally, then body basically increases the rate of inspiration and expiration. So suppose if you're running, it happens that suddenly your rate of respiration increases. You inhale and exhale very fast just to fulfill the demand of oxygen in the body. So if it is happening in a normal condition, yes. If it is related with some activity like running, doing some exercise, or any activity which involves a lot of oxygen consumption, then it seems to be normal. But there are conditions when there is a problem, even in a normal condition, that even a person is sitting and still the patient is breathless or doing a lot of respiration with a high inspiration and expiration rate, then it is pathological. So if I touch broadly, what are those conditions? Actually our lungs work in tandem with the our heart and the cardiac output. So what happens if anything is wrong with the pumping of the blood, if anything is wrong with the activity of the heart, that can also affect the lungs, because it put more demand on the lungs then. So if broadly we can summarize or categorize, it could be some cardiac condition where, like pericarditis, myocardial infarction, or in a normal term which you call a heart attack, then also a patient becomes breathless. So that is because of the cardiovascular issues. The prime issue which we are going to discuss today would be, which is related to the pulmonary issues related with the lungs. So in those, there are certain conditions like COPD, which is called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, pneumonia, or bronchial asthma, which you normally call asthma. And it can be induced through some psychological issues also, like if you are in anxiety or in panic, then also you may have a breathlessness or some breathing difficulty. So broadly we can categorize them into cardiac issues, pulmonary issues, or some psychogenic issues where you have breathing difficulties. Now, if I explain you a little bit about the pulmonary issues, as I just mentioned, that COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So in that, the normal physiology of the lung changes. So what are the basic units? If we go microscopically to the lungs, we'll find that there are things which are called alveoli, where the exchange of gases to the blood takes place. So at that place, if there is any changes or any obstruction, that can cause breathing difficulty. So that is one example. The other example can be emphysema, where there is a dilatation and there is a change in the air spaces. Then the other condition which is very common, which is called bronchial asthma, which is basically can be an allergic reaction of your body towards any allergen. So for example, some people have allergy to dust or to certain fragrances or to cold, or even exercise induced asthma is also there. So whenever such exposure happens, then body reacts in such a way, it basically tries to fight against itself. So there would be a constriction, means the alveoli, the structure which we are talking about, they become constricted, and then there will be less exchange of oxygen to the blood, and then it ultimately leads to more shortness of breath. So bronchial asthma is again one of the prime example. Then if we look into other like pneumothorax, where some trauma has happened, that can also cause breathlessness. Pneumonia, which is basically an inflammation of those alveoli, it could be because of some kind of an infection. A good example is COVID-19, which is SARS-2 virus, which can also give you a shortness of breath. Then in certain other conditions like cancers and other conditions also. So ultimately, what exactly is the pathophysiology? If we talk about it, it basically changes in the functioning of the lung, which can be acquired, or it can be because of some sort of an infection. So the function of the lung doesn't take place properly, and that causes breathing difficulties and other issues, which may also lead to one more condition, which is basically increased secretions. So the cells in the lungs, they secrete more secretions because of the condition. Like COPD, you have more sputum. Sputum is the phlegm which you spit it out during the cough, it happens. And even in infection, like any bacterial infection or any other infection, you have more production of the sputum, which is basically a reaction of the body, which is basically induced by our white blood cells or the immunity part. So this is how it goes and ultimately affects the function. So there are ways to check how well your lungs are functioning, and there are certain treatment part also, where drugs has some role to play, and ultimately physiotherapy has a lot more role to play in that, especially if we talk about pulmonary issues. Or what other aspect if one should know as a common man. If I'll give you a very small example. If even at rest or even by small exertion you're getting breathlessness, or if you have more secretions, like more sputum you're producing, or with a cough along, and even your activities of daily living, like moving around inside the house or doing your other activities, giving you trouble, which normally a person do very normally, that means you need to look into what exactly is wrong. So the first prime contact can be a physician or a chest specialist, and many a times if it is of infection sort of, then there would be more symptoms, like you may have fever, you may have cough, which will lead to more secretions output, and ultimately your quality of life will get affected. So it is very important to know whether your lungs are functioning normally or not, and we can definitely make them better. The functioning can made better, and there the role of physiotherapy, which I want to discuss here. Yes, we can improve the quality of life. We can increase the strength of the intrinsic muscle, because it's a process. The ventilation process involves two things: inflation and deflation. So it is being done in our rib cage through the help of the muscles. One prime muscle would be the diaphragm, which is just under your lung, and the intrinsic muscles or intercostal muscles, which has a very important role to play. When they contract, they basically, helps in inflation and deflation. So it is very important, because for the muscle, if we are talking about, the only way to strengthen them is exercise. There is no medicine to strengthen a muscle unless and until we are using it. So there are some specific tailor-made exercise program which you can do. That is one part of the treatment. The other part of the treatment, which is very important for the people who have lots of secretions, the blockage or obstruction in the lung, would be removal of those secretions. So there the physiotherapy roles come into action, where we can use chest physiotherapy techniques, which are basically going to mobilize the secretions of your lung, and they come out and it makes your breathing normal or better. So it has a role to play as far as the strength conditioning of those muscles are concerned, which will be a long-term plan. And as far as the acute conditions are concerned, there we can definitely improve ventilation by incorporating some techniques which we call postural drainage techniques, and some sort of other techniques like vibration, chest cupping, and all those, which will ultimately helps in improving the functioning of the lung tissue. So this is all about the physiology and normal functioning of the lung. And if I talk about COVID-19, which is a hot topic now, everybody has gone through the tough times in last 1.5 years. So in COVID-19, it is again an infection, where basically because of a virus which infiltrates inside from the nostrils or from the throat side, and it goes deeper into the lung, and it causes a change in the normal physiology, normal functioning of the lung, and ultimately leads to maybe a shortness of breath, sometimes more secretions. So the best way is, obviously, you should have a good immunity. The other important aspect which are in your hand, like doing regular exercise, especially for the lungs, which includes aerobic exercises, changing in a lifestyle, like quitting smoking. Smoking can be hazardous, and it is sure, researchers have showed that. So one thing which is acquired, which you can definitely quit, would be the smoking part. So if you're quitting smoking, or if you're not smoking, basically you are minimizing the risk of getting those complications, which can be in your hand. The other aspect would be a good healthy lifestyle. So any sort of exercise which can be done indoor, which can be done outdoor as per your convenience, will definitely help to maintain a good health of your heart, which is the cardiac part, and a good lung functioning, which is your pulmonary part. So whenever we are doing an exercise, we basically put a sort of a challenging situation for our heart and lungs. So because they have to work more, they have to ventilate more, the heart has to pump more blood to that part, and ultimately our oxygen demands shoots up. So if we are doing exercises in a correct way, and if we are doing exercises regularly, we are basically conditioning our muscles, conditioning our lungs, conditioning our cardiac tissues, that is heart, that they are ready to face the challenges, and they basically evolve from their the normal condition to a better condition. So this is how it can work well, and that's the theoretical part. Now I'll be happy to take the questions. If anybody has a question, I would be love to take that. Any question from the audience side? We have few more people. Yes. Okay. Somebody has asked, what is a cup therapy and how do it help for the muscle relaxation? I would say a cupping therapy is a traditional Chinese medicine treatment, which is not exactly a physiotherapy part, but now people have started practicing a lot. But it has a lesser role as far as the chest conditions are concerned. It basically relaxes the muscle. So that can be done by other techniques also. But as far as the lung condition is concerned, because those muscles are very small, intercostal muscles, and the diaphragm is a little deeper, just lying under your lungs. So there, reaching with a cupping therapy would not be a very wise idea, because we have some easy and simple techniques. So as far as the cupping technique is concerned, cupping therapy, I would not say that it is a very good idea to use it in lung condition. But cupping, not exactly the cupping therapy we are talking about, we are talking about cupping technique. So what is one technique is basically which we use with a hand, and we do percussions on the lungs basically to dislodge the secretions which are lodged between the alveoli and that tissue. It moves from that place because of the percussion part, and that secretions then moves up to the upper part of the respiratory tract, and then a person can spit it out with a cough or by other technique. So this is how the cupping, not with the cup but with the hand, which we use in chest physiotherapy, and that basically works very well to mobilize the secretions and to improve the chest function or the breathing part is concerned. So that's it. Any other question from the audience side? I'll love to take that. Okay. Somebody has asked, what is the best sleeping position if we feel shortness of breathing at night? So the position of comfort is always the best position. Majorly, the best position to sleep, somebody who has a sleeping issue or breathing issues during the sleep, would be, I would say, the side lying position. It could be on either side, left or right. And because when we are turning to the one side, it basically, assist more ventilation, so it becomes a little easier to breathe air. And one more issue which is very common with the people is sleep apnea, snoring. Basically, the medical terminology is sleep apnea. So what happens, because of the hardening of the palate, or because of overweight, because of diabetes, because of other issues, what happens, that patient basically stops breathing for a period of time. That is called sleep apnea. That's how the snoring comes into action. So if you're turning to one side, the palate goes in a right direction, then it makes it a little easy for a person to breathe comfortably, even if somebody is suffering from sleep apnea. The other position which is very commonly seen in, especially who are desperate, who are having low oxygenation or saturation content in the blood, there is a position in which you are making a pile of pillows and you are just resting on that, which can be a good position, but position for sleep would be a bit more comfortable if you are inside. Okay, one more question is there. Those who are going to the gym or into hard weight lifting, what therapy one should take and how often in a month? Okay. So if we talk about, if you're talking about only the muscular issues, my suggestion would be, depends on person to person and what the condition is. So there are set instructions like A, B, C, D kind of a thing. So I give this example. If you want to reach one destination, there can be 4 different ways to reach that. So it depends on you and your therapist, what suits you better or suits him or her better. So any of the option can be good, like electrotherapy, which is very commonly done in physiotherapy. Then dry needling can be one part which we can use for muscular issues. Yes, we can use stretching. Then there are different techniques under manual therapy, which is very commonly done in Australia and other parts of the world, and very common in India nowadays also. And that can also help you to get rid from your muscular issues which are being faced by somebody who's going regularly to the gym and getting those regular problems. But my sincere advice to the people who are going to the gym, that the program which they are following, they should be very clear about that. The objective should be clear, and somebody professional should design that program. It should not be self-made or just by somebody who doesn't have a proper knowledge is telling you. Because in that case or in that scenario, the chances are you may land up in a problem. The other issue with the gym is people don't do a proper warming up and proper cooling down. So both before starting your session and at the end of the session, you are supposed to do some sort of a mild form of exercises, which is called a warming up and a cooling down exercises, depending on which part you're doing. and that helps basically minimizing the chances of injury. So whatever injury you have during those exercise session or weightlifting session or aerobic session would be minimized, because it reduces the chances, because it improves the blood circulation to that part, and ultimately physiologically I would say it improves washing out of those substances or wear and tear products which have happened during that session. So warming up and cooling down is the part where maximum injury happens if you don't do. So if you're doing it, it would be much easier for you to avoid the problems. No, I think that's fair enough. And as far as lung condition or breathing difficulties are concerned, that if you're asking about in the gym, my suggestion would be any sort of a mild to moderate exercise where you're challenging yourself, where you're increasing your heart rate and respiratory rate to moderate level. If you're not conditioned, if you're not doing regularly exercises or gym, if you are doing it first time or just beginning, so in that case you should be very mild to moderate, because that basically puts your lung and heart system into a bit of challenging situation. So if you are doing it in a subtle way, in a graded response, like one step forward, that makes easy to improve the basic functions and getting better results. That's what I would suggest. So any other question regarding breathing issues? Yes. Okay, somebody has asked how to diagnose breathing problems. Okay, it's very easy to understand. If even at rest you are getting breathless, that's one of the common condition where you need to have an intervention, means where you need to show a doctor or somebody. They will check by doing certain tests, very common tests which is being advised would be according to the condition. If you have fever along, if you have any other issues like chronic cough or a lot of secretions, then maybe X-ray is a good way to look into the structures of your lung. CT, yes, but the basic test which everybody suggests would be PFT, which is basically peak flow ejection, fluorometry. Basically what we check in one particular duration, how much air you are able to expel. So that's PFT test, which is very common. In a layman term, I would suggest you one test, like if you are having a broadly 1 minute walk test, if you're feeling a lot of breathlessness which is not settling down in 3 to 5 minutes after doing that 1 minute of walk test, that can be a sign and a symptom that yes, you need to show somebody that you have some issues which needs to be sorted out. Okay. Now the next question by somebody is it possible that physiotherapy can help with breathing issues? Yes, definitely, because there can be two phases of any breathing problems. One can be the acute phase, the other could be subacute or the long-term phase of that problem. If somebody is suffering from some infection like pneumonia or because viral bacterial infection of your lung, which is basically an inflammation of the tissues. So there, one prime problem which happens with the patient is basically that a lot of secretions are being made at that site. So we need to mobilize that secretion. So there, the role of physiotherapy is there, where there are different techniques which we use, which helps basically to mobilize that secretion from the lower part of the lung to the upper part, and ultimately from mouth, you're just spitting out that secretions. Or if a patient is in a comatose position, then we do suction to remove that secretions from the mouth part. The long-term plan which I'm talking about is basically improving the strength of your muscles, the breathing muscles, which are here in intercostal area and the diaphragm. So one of the technique can be diaphragmatic breathing, which is very easy to do, anybody can do at home, and which is basically putting a hand on your tummy, taking a deep breath, and just next part would be when you are exhaling, your tummy should move out. So basically we are doing just reverse of that. When we are inhaling, our tummy will move out. When we are exhaling, our tummy will move in. So doing this will also help. Then there are different breathing patterns like apical breathing and some constraint induced kind of an exercise breathing, which will help you ultimately. So ultimate aim is to build the muscle, and as I said, the best way to build a muscle is to use a muscle. Okay, so the next question somebody is asking, how can physiotherapy cure the problem of breathing in winters? So okay, this is winter season right now, and this winter season, especially if you are talking about Delhi NCR, the air quality index goes very high. So the quality of air is not good because the flow of the winds are not very high. So the suspendicular particle, that is the SPM, basically the particular matter, they remain suspended in the air. So many a times they basically becomes an allergic. People who are allergic to that, they become an allergen for them. So they triggers those hyper secretions reaction in the patients. So the best way would be to avoid exposure to the dust and those environments where you have a lot of pollutants in the out. So indoor activity would be a good idea, especially if somebody has an access to air purifier, that would be great. But again, first is the prevention part, that is avoiding the exposure to that particular part. The second comes how you can mobilize the secretions if you are being exposed or you have a bronchial asthma or something. So first is removal of the allergen, that is avoiding, preventive. Second would be using those techniques, like there is a technique called huffing technique where we teach patient how to remove the secretions out, which is like a forceful expiration without a closed glottis, like like this. And the other part would be some sort of a simple breathing exercise which you can do, like inhaling the air in, holding it for few seconds for a few moments, and then from the mouth part you're just exhaling it out slowly. So it's a simple exercise which anybody can do. The best part would be avoidance, prevention, and if it happens, then definitely you need to mobilize the secretion and look into if you have some other symptoms like fever or other things, then you have to look for the test and you have to visit a doctor. Yes, medicine has some role to play in that, but ultimately for the longer term you have to build your own system, how it has to fight. Okay, what type of physiotherapy treatment can be expected for shortness of breath? Okay, shortness of breath, which is a breathing difficulty, as I said, the medical terminology is dyspnea. So in physiotherapy, the first is important part, if there is any obstruction in ventilation is inspiration and expiration, like patient has a difficulty, if we have auscultated with the stethoscope that which part of the lung, which segment of the lung is having a different sounds, which we check through stethoscope, then accordingly we mobilize the secretion if the secretions are there. So for that there is a positional or a postural drainage which we use. Then comes improving the ventilation and improving the expansion of the lung. So in that part comes the exercises like apical breathing, where we put a little resistance and taking a deep breath against that resistance. That is one exercise. The other exercise which you can use, putting both hands here along, and then again during the inspiration giving a little resistance, and then slowly exhaling it out either through mouth or through the nostril. These are those exercises which can be advised to the patient. Now, as far as physiotherapy part, the cardiopulmonary physiotherapy or the pulmonary rehabilitation per se is a big itself, it's a specialty in physiotherapy. So many people think that physiotherapy only caters to people with back pain, neck pain or knee pain. It's not that. There is a complete specialty which deals with that, which is cardiopulmonary rehabilitation. So any kind of a post-surgical condition, whether it is CABG, which is basically, or a stent surgery or any other surgery, or bypass surgery, where it is very important to develop the cardiopulmonary system, or to improvise them through putting them into a little challenging situation through exercises which are done in a graded way. So from simple to little more complex, then more complex, then more complex sort of an exercise. Yes, this is how we are dealing, and ultimately quality of life of the patient improves. So any other question do we have? I have gone through. I hope I've not missed. Let me just check. Okay, what is the best sleeping cup therapy? All right. I didn't see any more questions, so I would like to explain or conclude the things in this way. It's not that one has to deal with a problem when the problem flares up. The better would be the preventive part. So the problem in our country sometimes is people don't look for preventive care, which is very important. For everybody, it is recommended that they should do some sort of a regular physical activity or exercise, which ultimately improves their, cardiopulmonary functions. So we are going to put a little challenge to our system, which ultimately improvise accordingly. If we have, some pre-morbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or any renal issues, or some specific cardiopulmonary issues which can be cardiac origin of or can be pulmonary origin of, it is very important to cater to them. If somebody has a higher sugar levels, they have to maintain it, and ultimately you can't escape because of our lifestyle which we are living into nowadays, where everything is more of sedentary type, everything is virtual, we are sitting in front of a system or on phone or on video call. It is very important to maintain a very active lifestyle, means at least 25 to 40 minutes of exercise in any form. It could be walking, running, or aerobic, or even dancing. That will help a lot to building up basically, and to maintain your sugar levels, and to maintain your chest expansion, and to maintain your cardiac functions. So it is very important to exercise. And the other part is modification of lifestyle. So how to modify the lifestyle, which includes, if we are having any of these things into our lifestyle, like alcohol, smoking, tobacco in any form. Nowadays people are very much going to vapors and other stuff, which is not good for the lungs in the longer run. So ultimately we have to get rid from these things, and we have to maintain good quality of life by having good balanced diet and maintaining our weight and maintaining our activity level. If we'll keep doing that, that will improve ultimately the outcome, and we'll have to go less to the doctors or to a therapist for our problems. So with that, again, I'll ask if anybody has any question which I couldn't reply. I'll be happy to take that. You can leave it on as a message on Insta, and I'll try to get back. And this is my promise to bring back all those issues which are common in commonly faced by a normal population, right? And to put more light and give little more wisdom to people, how to avoid and how to prevent and how to cure. So for that, be in touch, and thanks a lot for joining, and bye bye, and see you from Physio Revive. Thank you so much. Thanks.